you can upload images of your work, be it rave photos of like interesting outfits you put together, or if you're an independent designer, you can put up your most recent lookbook or any single image you have that you created where there are people featured, and then upload it, we feature it, and then anyone can try it on. So if you want to link in that lookbook to your website, to your social media, I know actually a couple musicians who like link to their Spotify with a release that they have with like a really sweet outfit and scene from their music video. You know, you create a music video and that's like an incredible amount of work and money, and now you can share it and people can enjoy it and they can try on these, you know, outfits from it. And a really easy way to support your friends in a fun way. So like if I have a friend whose album just dropped and I just like put on her crazy little outfit that looks silly on me and then say, so-and-so's outfit just dropped. I mean, there's just so many more fun ways to interact with content and editorial.
Internet Explorers.
Dude, I have not eaten any food. I drank 1 glass of water. I'm on cup 2 of coffee. I feel like I've been in the trenches all morning, fighting battles, baby, fighting battles. So I don't know how the show's going to go, quite frankly. I am far too caffeinated and wound up to know what is going to come out of my mouth. But episode 54, back with our weekly Internet Explorers. I tried to send a bank wire this morning, Josh. They told me to just, go fuck myself, basically. So another reminder of why crypto's amazing. Just try to go send a bank wire. And then VCs are doing stupid shit. Yeah, right? As everything's kicking up. So I'm worked up. But it feels like this might be a grounding episode because we have Dove from Xhibit, who is literally the most amazing human being around, building something that I think is going to be big, starting in a wonderful little niche. And I think, excited to sort of talk about that. We got our friend Kel joining us today as well. He's been, everybody's back on the Twitter this week, getting out here, laying down the future a little bit. And we got some other good topics to get into, of course. And my favorite one, smooth braining, obviously. But this is obviously a big week for a lot of people. So we get to sort of sit back and I guess it's entertainment to us to a certain degree. Clearly, there's knock-on impacts potentially to everybody in the world. But this isn't a politics show, so we don't really... You can hang out on crypto Twitter if you want to go talk about politics. But I did want to acknowledge, big week, obviously, Trump election, pretty big way, seeing some major shift in crypto markets, as everybody can see by the green candles. And I think thinking a lot about the shifts that we have to make in mental models and how we change our actions, because the world is a bit different today than it was last week. And I think it's going to be interesting to see that sort of roll out for the next little while. So exciting times ahead. It's going to get weird.
It's going to get really weird. Yeah, I think the agent stuff and then, the 4 years of whatever type of regulatory breathing room we get is going to create the conditions for some fun on the internet for sure. Who knows how that impacts real life in the US, but the internet's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's a tough one. All right. Well, I love the fact that, honestly, the fact that we don't have to talk about politics here, because I think a lot of people thought that we'd just get out of politics after the election was over, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. All right. Is there anything else happening here, Josh? I feel like we should just get Dove up here.
Yeah, let's get them up here.
Hello, Dove.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'd love for you to just pour yourself a glass of wine. I'm
hyped, dude. I gotta go get a wire sent, and then I gotta say no to a few people. It's good. It's good. This is really good because it's for we're good. You get to land just an exciting opportunity. Really, you've been pouring your heart into this thing for a very long time, but especially for the last few months since we've been working with you. But let's, before we jump into it, who are you and what are you building, Dove?
Well, I'm Dove, and I am building, an open platform for immersive exchange, let's say. It's really I really want it to be as open as possible, and I don't want to corner myself, but it's really one of the first platforms for user-generated content out there for anyone to be featured, to share their work, to immerse themselves into each other's images. And it's the first in its class as far as tech goes. So there's nowhere else on the internet that you can go and put yourself into a single image. It's been very, very, very difficult to do that as an independent. And I think the main reason I did it, and sort of my background and why I came to this in general, is I worked at SoundCloud for many years. I was a creator myself. I was a musician for many years. I did a lot of immersive works, and the feeling of ownership in my work has changed and shifted so much over the last 15 years. And I got to work really close to that change working at SoundCloud. So derivative content, how we see derivative content, paying for derivative content, all of that, and the complexity around Web 2 and derivative content. But what's great about where we're at is AI is just an entirely new paradigm. You don't have like laws from the phonograph like cutting off your work, which is just gorgeous, or 50 different ways of having to check copyright world over. So we're starting with a fresh slate, which is beautiful. And we're also starting at this point in with like blockchain technology, where we really have a ledger, a really clean, elegant ledger, and a way to share revenue with people that is far more consumer friendly as of late. So, you just like hook in your PayPal, you just hook in it's just a far different approach to a year ago when we were like, I was just like telling people how to set up wallets day and night.
Right. I want to make sure, because I love how deep, like, you are so immersed in this world that I want to make sure that that simple idea here lands. So what Xhibit allows to show this world of fashion and creativity that is displayed through lookbooks and through images, and there's a lot of independent creators out there, and AI is clearly coming in, feeling impactful for anybody in the creative spaces. And there's sort of this I think desire for showcasing one's identity, and a desire for almost some shape shifting, trying different things on, etc. And what you've created is a place for people who are either professional fashion people, stylists, etc., or just crazy cool people with great style hiding in Berlin or whatever, to come and showcase that in a way that others can remix, see themselves in, etc. And then underneath that, you've built the ledger, that sort of the blockchain piece of this is allowing for these sort of creator rewards, which allows you to come in and put all sorts of things, like, we see it in Zora with referral rewards, but you've been able to take that and push it further down the stack so that these derivative works that are being created and then remixed, that there's sort of an attribution and a business model that goes down it. And you have an app in the App Store. So I think I want to make sure people get that, because I think there is this like wonderful niche for you to go after that is full of incredibly talented creative people that publish stuff out there. But I also think you have this intuition that it is actually a lot bigger potentially than just this specific use case. Like this actual creator infrastructure is probably going to have an impact, and this is a really great place to start. So I want to say that, because I know we can get into the nuances of it, but there's an app out there right now that I guess if you do not live in the United States, is that the only limitation?
Yeah, that's the limitation.
No US, but if you don't live in the United States, you can literally go do this. And I think the other point you're making is that like single image immersion around AI is actually very, very difficult thing to do technically, and that's actually a competitive technology advantage that you guys have been working on for the last few months pretty aggressively.
And you could even say the last 10 years, because the folks I've been working with, we've been building XR experiences in the trenches of crappy technology forever. If you look at what you could do with AI 10 years ago, and the people working on it then, they're saints, because it's just like dog faces all squirreled up. And of course, VR, it was just like blocks bouncing around. So we all have like a real, I would say, love and understanding of immersion. And that's why we were able to do what we're doing so fast as a small team. Because you look at like Zalando, they've been working on it for 2 years. Obviously, they have a higher quality standard because they're selling particular garments, and we're just like getting reckless and having fun and just showcasing all kinds of cultures and possibilities. So,
let's maybe even put like a finer point on it. So if you're a creator, what can you go into Xhibit and do? And if you're someone that just kind of wants to explore their style or new, what can you go in and Xhibit and do? So
if you're a creator, I'll start with the creator perspective. You can upload images of your work, be it rave photos of like interesting outfits you put together, or if you're an independent designer, you can put up your most recent lookbook or what have you, or even interesting 3D kind of art formats you've created for a person. Really any single image you have that you created where there are people featured, and then request to be featured. You have to put everyone, obviously you have to like sign a waiver that says you've gotten everyone's, okay, and you give credit to everyone in that photo as you would pretty much any editorial shoot, and then upload it, we feature it, and then anyone can try it on. So if you want to link in that lookbook to your website, to your social media, to your like wherever you're trying to gain worth from the platform. I know actually a couple musicians who want to like link to their Spotify with a release that they have with like a really sweet outfit and kind of scene from their their music video. So like, I think that the amount of editorial out there, we don't even realize how kind of omnipresent it is. It's in everything we do. And I think being able to share that with each other, because it takes so long. You know, you create a music video and that's like an incredible amount of work and money. And now you can share it and people can enjoy it and they can try on these, you know, outfits from it. And I think there's just such a fun, like, way of playing with each other's creations and like showing reverence for each other's work in like, and a really easy way to support your friends in a fun way. So like, if I have a friend whose album just dropped and I just like put on her crazy little outfit that looks silly on me and then say, so-and-so's outfit just dropped. I mean, there's just so many more fun ways to interact with content and editorial. And I think show reverence to it. And I think coming at it as a creator and wanting to build it with, you know, the value being for creators, you really, as you start playing with it, you really see like that, I don't know, that reverence for every kind of creative culture and scene out there.
And then on the consumer side, you can open the product, kind of scroll through all these lookbooks and creations from designers or whoever, and then basically like scan yourself and see yourself wearing all these different things from like the comfort of your bedroom, right?
Yeah, and you can just try all different kinds of styles. You can try like street styles you would never, I mean, a lot of these things, you know, you don't want to invest $300 to try Korean fashion, but it's funny because
I would. That would be good.
Freaking did. And it was after I created the Korean lookbook sections. And I was like, you know what? I think I vibe with this. I think I look good in this. And so, yeah, I went to Korean Man and just bought a bunch of stuff. But it's really fun. Yeah, you can just like, and some things I look terrible in. Some things I'm like, wow, that's what I would look like if I was like maybe moderately wealthy as a child and lived in Australia.
Okay. Honestly, I feel like if people are listening to this, if at least 5 of them go and use Xhibit and then send me an outfit to try on, I will try on at least 3 of those 5.
Okay.
We'll see. What's sort of next? You have the product out. You're sort of doing a very subtle beta right now. I guess that's the intention of not being in the United States. But what's next? So people can go play with it now if you're not in the United States. What are you focused on, or sort of what's the next inflection point for you?
Yeah. So now I'm just slowly starting to bring on creators. I've built all the package, you know, the kind of information they need to upload their work and get the best results. And then I want to handhold initially all of the creators I've been speaking with, because we've like created these sort of relationships over the last year as I've been working on it. So I'm really excited to just drop lookbook by lookbook for people over the next few months, and also just maybe just take some kind of like shots working with people that I just absolutely adore and respect, and like moonshot creators, and yeah, just having fun. I think I'm finally in the fun stage. It's been absolutely exhausting. And just, you know, you see something so close and then all of a sudden the AI changes and your face looks like you've been to war 4 times, and it's just like so frustrating working with AI.
Well,
but
I mean, it was pretty accurate then at that specific moment, maybe. All right, Dov, well, thanks for hanging out with us today. Very excited to see what's next and to maybe try on some. Send it away. We got the Twitter account up here. XHIBITAI on Twitter. Go hang out, see what's up. Thanks, Dov.
Bye.
All the best. Good night.
See ya.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, they're built on like
Dov.
the most interesting. You know, we spend a lot of time thinking about the inflection points, I think, or the inflections of projects we're working with, and I think they're sitting on like 3 very powerful ones that I think are just going to intersect in a really interesting place. So you have, obviously, you know, the AI inflections are very well understood. Obviously, the kind of social ultra value capturing abilities of crypto are well understood. But I think the like cultural inflection that they're building on top of here, where like, you know, people are just more open to exploring who they are and try, you know, and I think this is just a product that kind of encapsulates like all of those things into one like really interesting experience. So excited to start playing with it, get in more people.
Yeah, I think people underestimate I think Dov has come from a clear group of people that are excited about this, right? And it's a deep history of people playing around with AR. I mean, Dov didn't share the awards that they've won in a number of other projects that they've launched. So there's people out there, and I think when I started looking at that niche, I was like, is that really there? But it is a juicy niche to go launch this in. But I'm just so convinced that the structure that gets built underneath it, as far as like infrastructure for creator payouts, rewards, attribution, etc., is like a big opportunity. And I think others have run at that directly, but haven't had like the magic fun reason to actually want to participate in it. And I think that, in so many things, we believe that, if you're going to go build Shopify for crypto, you should probably launch the first Shopify store first and build that in. And that coming with the consumer use case first that can back into infra is going to be a far more compelling for these more vertical specific markets versus a general sort of block space, I guess, that we've been in the last little while. So very excited about it. And I don't know, make me wear some weird Korean clothes if you want to.
I do. Yeah, I think also just the idea of these.
I literally just worry that our team is just going to go in and do it. So
we need
I'll
to
have to do it regardless. I needed to raise the number, but okay, whatever.
The idea of these like niche social networks too that like carve out kind of different like physics or rules or norms that just it's like, maybe I won't want to see myself wearing something that I would never actually wear in public and post that on Instagram with like my high school friends or childhood friend or something, but to go onto some place that like really valued individuality and like personal exploration and kind of like compounds that and everyone else is doing it, I think is a really interesting place to go play in.
Agreed. Josh, your mic's crackly for me, so just make sure you put your plug in and turn your. Well, yeah.
Is that better in any way?
No, it's garbage still, but we can still hear you.
All right. Well, we'll fight through it.
Yeah, we fight through. All right. I'm curious what you mean by this DEGEN topic, Josh, because there's a few out there.
All of them.
All of them? You want to talk about all of them? All right. Set it up.
I want to talk about all of them. Yeah, so I think just an interesting week all around for DEGEN. So the thing that really kicked it off was, it came out with a post about just all the challenges they've been having working with Conduit, their service provider for their L3. I think Conduit then jumped on and kind of pushed back on it. So who knows where the truth lies between it, but I think very clear how much challenge they've had trying to like stand up and manage and get people to come build on their L3 and actually go create value for their community there. So I think that kind of emerged, and the kind of like second order effects of that was obviously the Solana kind of community standing up and being like, oh, we have a solution for you having all these challenges with, liquidity fragmentation and chain challenges. So obviously they stood up and said, come move the community over to Solana. And then kind of on the back. So, Raj was like, have you heard the good news about Solana? Hilarious. I think Mark jumped into somewhere. Maybe I don't have it. This is a post from Yasik. But then, so Bunny, who's building, I forget, Block Explorer, I'm getting the name, but then kind of just, stood up and kind of on the backs of all this excitement and kind of, community questioning of whether this L3 was the right thing, launched a DEGEN token, same branding, same everything on pump.fun, and is kind of trying to transition the community over. Obviously got some trench support because there's some interesting narratives behind that. So I think a few interesting topics here. One, I mean, really the big one is like, should they have launched an L3? So maybe we can start there.
Yeah, can you just like unplug your mic completely and try to replug it in, because it's kind of trash. Whatever you just did there, I think fixed it. Yeah, I mean, so the DEGEN Soul token, it was funny, you sent it to me right as it launched, and we mid-curved the shit out of that. But, it has the chart of a pump.fun token, right? So we pumped the shit out of it, and what's back down to 700,000 market cap. So that's exactly kind of, well, I didn't predict like the pump up. Wish I'd played that, but that's kind of how you expect here. But yeah, I think you're right. Like the core question I think is relevant to builders is like, is an L3 a good path to go down? And I think there was some tweet that I sent you that was like, DEGEN should just go back to being a meme coin. And I think that's a very real challenge that folks have to sort of navigate, right? Where there's sort of, meme coins are challenged by the fact that there isn't any ingrained economics that can power that forward, right? You're reliant on a growing number of people who just like, I fuck with this meme, we're gonna ride this attention wave. But I think, the vast majority of those are only short-term plays. If some small percentage break through and persist, that's the Doges, that's the bonks, whatever, right? But as a builder, that's like rolling the dice and getting that outcome, right? And so like, what are the things that we can do strategically, business model wise, et cetera, that might allow us to build a large and enduring token network? And I think that's still an unsolved problem beyond, a couple of like the bigger tokens. And so we're all in this sort of process of trying to figure out what the right mechanisms are. And I have huge respect for the DEGEN team and for Jessic to just fucking around and finding out. That's how DEGEN launched. That's how they ended up with an L3. But I think there's a lot of risks associated with communities shifting to an L3 model. There's clear ones that are kind of like that all of a sudden you're going to be measured on something very different, right? It's not just about attention. Now it's about TVL. It's about number of transactions. It's about the apps that are built on it. And then you also have all the challenges with the infrastructure that is really at the core here, right? Like it Conduit and anybody that's a RaaS provider has every incentive to say, listen, if you just pay me a chunk of money every month, it's easy. It's $3,000 a month. That is horseshit. There is an immense amount of infrastructure that you have to go build to make these things work. And all those things can break and change, and they're being developed upon. And so, yeah, I think we have explored this direction. I think it's an interesting substructure for communities or for social capital to be laid on top of, but it has a whole lot of challenges associated with it that people aren't fully recognizing. And it also doesn't have this clear, obvious business model that it unlocks on the end that will actually generate revenue, right? So if you're thinking sequencer fees on the DEGEN chain is going to be the thing that drives value in that chain, well, I think you're crazy, right? Like the whole point is that there are barely any fees, et cetera. So, and people have arguments around super chain and how stuff comes together. Maybe whatever, we'll see, but it's very clearly not there right now. And so I think it puts DEGEN in a very difficult position. Now I have to maintain this chain, continue to build out infrastructure, support the infrastructure around it, and they need to go get people to stake their tokens with them or to come and build products on them, et cetera. And they will never compete with the liquidity of a Base or of a Solana or of an ETH, some of the other leading chains. So it's a tough spot to be in. I mean, I think I can't really comment on this specific thing, but I don't know. I would be very, 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 very thoughtful before I launch an L3. And, there are a lot of providers out there, so you should probably talk to as many of them if you are going to go down that path as you can, and talk to founders who've worked with these teams, because they will tell you a lot of things. A lot of things. I can't hear you. Oh, wait, can I hear you? Josh is like, yeah, my mic is fucked, so I'm going to show it. I'm going to unplug my mic.
How about now? Better?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
All right, we're good. Yeah, I think you did a presentation to our team this week, and I think you had a really good line that kind of highlighted why this was maybe an interesting line of exploration, because like you said, everyone in crypto is on this journey of finding new structures, both technological and cultural, for aligning social capital around a belief in a future and catalyzing that through the issuance of and trading of tokens, so real progress can be made towards said future. And I think the idea of like formalizing a network for a chain is a really interesting path to doing that. But I think it's very easy now to look back and I guess think that they probably just ran at that opportunity way too quickly in the life cycle of the project. Like I think not only did them doing that just kind of, they were one of the first ones to launch an L3. I think it drove a ton of just like speculative attention and hype. That's they just like diluted the community to the point where like no one really knew or understood what DEGEN was. And I think looking back, they probably just should have spent a lot more time in early community building and sense making and trying to figure out what they wanted to be and what they wanted to go do. Probably launch products that people actually cared about and wanting to use. And then, maybe down the road, the chain opportunity reveals itself. It makes economic sense.
And I think that is the path that is the most sane one, right? It's like, I mean, we look at Zora as another alternative. Like, I'm not sure Zora would launch their L2 today if they were going to launch an L2, but they were early to it. And they had transaction volume from day one that justified running their own chain, right? But even it's a profitable endeavor for them.
But even then, it's like they're doing, I think, millions of transactions a month on their chain. But sequencer fees are still like, whatever, like 5 ETH a month or something. So I think, Jacob's mentioned the challenges of running an L2 chain. It's easy to kind of overlook that and justify it for community.
I think the biggest issue is if you're setting yourself up to play a game that you're going to guaranteed lose, which is the game of trying to be, which is the TVL, the number of apps built on top, etc. Like there are just far better teams with way more money and way more ahead of the game to go do it. And so I think that an L2 probably makes a lot of sense as like the co-owned infrastructure that you're building your network on top of, but you probably need to go build the network to justify that before you step down. And so I think one path here is that you have, you can imagine how would this work with C Club? C Club could launch an L2 and then say, come build on C Club. We'll make sure we'll only invest in teams that are building on C Club. Very local maxima, right? Mm-hmm. The other option is that C Club launches an L2. We have a number of applications that we built that are absolutely core to our community. And now we have not only a sort of shared ownership of those things and the ability to do all sorts of fun stuff with sequencers and prioritizing and gas fees, et cetera. And also you have this sort of infra that others can go build on top of. And in that lens, it feels much more like maybe not an app chain, but sort of app chain into ecosystem chain. And the key there would be that you have to be able to set it up so you're not getting measured in the same way that other people are getting measured by, which is an uncertain thing, I think. But
even then, right? It just like feels like such a distraction for a very long period.
It's a timing thing.
It's a timing thing.
Well, I mean, I think it was very right for DEGEN. I mean, I think DEGEN would have not had the attention. Like moving first with an L3 that DEGEN did, I think has actually generated hundreds of millions of dollars in value for them. So I think it was probably a really smart move for them to go do. But that's because they were first. That's because they were YOLO in it. And this is the cost of doing that. This is all the shit that they have to deal with right now. So,
yeah.
But I don't think that the next one, is that going to have the same impact? Clearly not, right? Like there are a number of other L3s that have launched that haven't had the same sort of attention.
Yeah, no doubt. So we have Kel joining any minute. Maybe let's jump to, what's a quick one here? Maybe we'll jump to the Polymarket. Oh, Kel's here. Excellent timing. Let's get the kid up here.
Kel, boom, you're on.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit, we live. How we doing?
It was great timing, man. We're good. How are you?
We're living.
Let's go. Yeah, man, excited to have you on. I think there's a bunch of directions we can go with this. I think, obviously you wrote your meme coin super cycle post that kind of went crazy back in March. So checking in on your reflections on the last 9 or 10 months would be interesting. You've kind of gone deep into this like agent meta, so I'd like to touch on that. And also haven't talked Hyperliquid at all in the show, and I know you have some thoughts there. So I think maybe all of those could be fun to get into. But maybe let's start with the meme coin super cycle stuff. Probably don't need to lay it out for people. I think it's well understood at this point, but just curious on kind of like 10-month reflections on where we've been since.
Yeah, so I think the main thing that I got wrong in my analysis back then was that I had thought that there would be like this concentration, and there kind of was. You saw it with Whiff and Pep. They got to this kind of single-digit billions kind of range. But I far underestimated how much new coins would just keep ripping 100x, 1000x, 100x, 100x, mother, all this other stuff, like random coins just like going. Like, so I think that was the way bigger opportunity was to constantly be rotating Whiff to PopCat to Giga to this to that to SPX. Now we have like the spin-off version, right? So yeah, I think that was the main takeaway, but what a crazy time.
I mean, I don't think that it like necessarily discredits or changes your thesis at all, right? Like the top meme coins have continued kind of crushing. Obviously, Murad stepping up and kind of sharing his thesis has helped out a lot. But yeah, you're right. There's this like constant attention grabbing game to like be in the trenches 24/7, catch some new runner. Often these like new metas or like political coins or whatever, new animals being born. These things last they last days, which is potentially less interesting than kind of this like
100%.
A lot of people play. Yeah.
Yeah, like I got a public service announcement for the trenches. Like, we got to stop with the 10 mil runners, man. Like, I get it. It's like fun to try and like, you just gamble with better odds.
I love this. Cal's like, I love fucking meme coins, but too many meme coins. Which I think is a very real feel, man.
You've gone too far. Well, like, I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's not going to matter for me, right? Like, this is just like if you actually want to like attempt to make the large sums of money that are possible to be made in crypto, which is what I think most people's at least stated goal is. It's not going to happen on these little runners. It's not going to happen on like the 90th Trump coin,
I feel like my mental model around this sort of stuff is like all of a sudden everybody can be a VC, right? And why the VCs are create so much value is because a tiny fraction of the things they put hopefully a big chunk of money into become absurdly valuable. And I think, remember, ETH was at 35 cents on its sale. And you just think about 35 cents running up to $35. You'd be insane not to sell. But $3,500 to $35 to $3,500 is enough to really make you question your past, right? And I know a lot of people who've had that, right? And so I think like this, I've actually had to shift my thinking, because for me, the way I prefer to buy tokens is I'm like, oh, I see a future in this. Let me be along for the ride. And it is like, it's either a zero or it's 100,000x or something, right? You know, like those are like the opportunities that we do have here. But you try to apply that to I don't know, anything literally coming out of the trenches right now, you're going to lose a ton of money.
100%.
And I can't figure out if actually that is still a good strategy. It's like, maybe we should just put bites on everything, and if something 1,000x's, you're good. But I think you're right. There's just too many tokens to do that. And so I think a lot about this sort of shift from attention to belief in this lens, right? Which is kind of, I think, to me, that's what's core and core behind the holding, you know? And so, and I think actually what will drive this even more is exactly the feeling that you're articulating here, which is just like, give me something to fucking believe in. You guys don't believe in shit. You're going to run it to $10 million. You're going to dump it all. Who the fuck are you? Like, you have an opportunity to go change the world. We're going to use it.
It's just group chat warfare right now. Like the trenches is good. It's literally the trenches. People in group chat trying to trade against each other. Like,
I mean, the tweets today are all PvP moving to PvE, which I think is okay. We're in the bull market, which means that life's probably going to get a lot more fun, and we'll see a lot of the less shitty cringe takes. That it's just the PvP stuff, but there's still going to be a lot of PvP stuff. So I think it's fascinating.
I mean, even this morning, I sent you Rebro, who we'll talk about, whatever, tweeted something about like his dog. And suddenly there were like 4 coins at the same market cap, deployed at the same time, with like different groups behind it, all trying to be the one that like breaks out, which is just a fucked up game to play. I mean, it's fun, I guess, but
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's absolute cinema on chain. Like, it's the most hilarious scenes you'll ever see on a day-to-day basis, and like that's why we all do it, myself included. But
me too. It is actually really fun.
Like, I think, you know, to your earlier point about, you know, is this strategy of like buying and believing and stuff like even like viable still? I don't think it's viable in like a spray sense, like, you know, proper, like a venture fund would make 200 investments, right? I don't think you can go buy 200 AI coins right now and like like hold them. I don't think it's going to end well. But I do think there are spots where you can take a more concentrated approach, and you know, you can really perform really well. At least that's my view moving forward.
I mean, I think I feels like we're moving into that being more true, definitely than the last year. So yeah. So
what do you? I guess how have you? If you're kind of feeling this like disenfranchisement with trenches, like where are you focusing your time now? Is it still meme coins, just larger caps, or are you kind of focused on?
Oh no! So let me just to clarify, I'm 100% still like in the trenches constantly. I know. Yeah. But I think my approach varies slightly, where I'm trying to look for what I think can be like multi-billion kind of. I think there are certain coins where people are playing them not because they think they can actually like swing trade it on a 6 to 12 month time frame, but because they think like, oh, it's a little attention trade, something happened today kind of thing. Totally fine. Different kind of return profile, different kind of bet. And it can compound for real. If you can invest like 1K into something and it 10x's, and then you invest that into Solana or whatever, and that 5x's, like you've now 50x that money, right? So like it's definitely legit. But my time is fully spent on trying to think, all right, can insert coin, and I don't know if you guys want me to go through like, you know, what specifically I'm looking at or not, but for any given coin, you want to ask like, all right, if something's actually going to go like 100x, like I want to buy that, you know, like it's just like end of 2023, December, beginning of 2024, all these memes came out. We had used car and win and all this shit that like people were playing, and they like went up a lot and then went to zero. And in that time, like we had generational amounts of time to just buy PopCat and walk away. And that wasn't my mindset back then, and it cost me. And so now I'm like, all right, this is repeating. Let me not like make the same mistake. You feel me?
I mean, give us a bit of a tease, at least in what you're looking for, maybe at a high level. Mm-hmm. I think that is very true, and yet also truly $1 billion question to get right.
Yeah, I mean, like it's like real, you know, if any of these coins go to $5 billion plus, then like it's a generational day for the trenches, right? So I mean, you mentioned Zero Bro. That's one coin that I've, you know, full disclosure, not financial advice, et cetera, but that is one coin that I've personally been interested in. I think throughout all these different.
Why though?
Go ahead. Yeah,
why?
Just to give the high level. You have this proliferation of these agent coins. after GOAT came out. Just in case anyone's unfamiliar, GOAT was like a coin that an AI agent made itself.
They're familiar. They're familiar.
They're familiar. So they all know. They're all long, right? And their longs are getting liquidated right now. So after GOAT came out, you saw all these different basically competitors to the same thesis come out. And my view is that a lot of the liquid funds in particular who were sidelined for the whole meme thing in the first half of the year, they're looking at this AI, on-chain AI stuff as something that they can actually get behind. And it's one of those like, all right, I can't miss a wave twice kind of thing. Not to say that they're for sure going to buy this, but I think what they are going to look for is which of these agent coins seems to be the most technically astute, has the most promising technical roadmap, and has done the most already. And so far in my analysis, this is looking like the one.
Well, I've seen the reaction to AI meets crypto in our C Club Ventures network, and it is very clear that VCs see that as a category that they can go play in a way that they did not see meme coins. And in fact, they were coming out at the same time. The memes were pumping as AI infra tokens were sort of like the hot thing, and I've seen some crazy valuations there. So yeah, I think that at least checks out. I think I would sort of extend it in that there needs to be more than attention to justify somebody putting LP's money into a token. Mm-hmm. And I think roadmap, technical astuteness, we've seen it a lot with just traction, especially at the early stage deals, not in liquid tokens, but in the private markets, where there's sort of like people see the value of social capital and the impact it can have. There's maybe a question around how exactly it comes out, and a little bit of data and like a technical, people see this turning into a platform, then they can really get behind it, which I think is also part of this AI agentic play generally, right? Like there's a sense that this might be the structure that we interoperate on moving forward, and the tech that gets developed there could be very valuable.
Kelly, I think that's what you're actually getting at here, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So that the tweet that is pulled up is a snippet from like a research piece I've been working on. There's a few different tokens that I talk about, but yeah, I think like these coins, people are looking at them like memes. They're treating them like it's the same kind of thing, but it's really not. There is like going to be technical differentiation here that leads to like a way different buyer class potentially coming in, and that leads to way more explosive outcomes, like if it happens, right? So
yeah, it's super interesting. All right, let's jump to Hyperliquid, because I know you're a massive bull there. I've been excited for it to come out. I think it's one of the first, like, I don't think they've raised any money. I think they're doing 100% community distribution. It's actually a great product that has runaway usage, even since they've like pre their points program, and even after it, they've stopped it. Like TVL and usage just keeps growing. So I think it's going to be a really interesting example of the opportunity of, not playing the kind of low float, high FDV, XV coin, VC coin game. So curious what you're thinking about there and why it's so exciting.
I mean, I think in crypto, there's very few times where a major platform comes out that is differentiated from previous platforms and that is purchasable at a reasonable valuation that you can underwrite for the long term. So when I look at Hyperliquid, and I've compared it to Solana many times, we have a platform that is already dominating in the on-chain market for perps trading. Perps trading is the number one business, maybe number two business in crypto, second to maybe only stables. And we have a market that's ripe for disruption. How many times have we seen on the timeline people discussing the exorbitant listing fees, platforms, like other centralized exchanges? We obviously had, I think yesterday was a 2-year anniversary of the FTX collapse. So we know the risks that centralized exchanges can present with respect to custody. And I just think you look at Hyperliquid as a platform where if you know someone who trades perps, they probably trade on Hyperliquid. It's just one of those, like, just don't overthink it kind of things. Like it's an L1 that has the most users in the dominant like business line, right? Like, I think the big questions are just around what's the launch valuation going to be? What's the float going to be? And like, it's looking like the, points will be fairly material. I think some markets are even trading at $13-14 already. So what percentage of these perps traders are who have accrued all these points will look to sell, right? Because, for some, it's just going to be a material airdrop. For others, they just will want to gamble. So there could be a lot of sell pressure.
What's your sense of the type of things that get built on Hyperliquid? Like, if you're going to look at things getting built on that L1, what would you be interested in, or what's the most obvious?
I think the most obvious, which I think there are a few teams already working on, is, you have the traditional primitives, your, liquid staking and, swap for the L1 and all that kind of stuff. And then beyond that, you can see like a world where HLP is tokenized. And then you can incorporate that into some kind of leverage protocol, like, an Aave of Hyperliquid, let's say.
Right.
And you can increase the capital efficiency of it by just, these DeFi bros love their leverage. So you could, imagine pretty easily the looping of HLP. Beyond that, I think there's a lot of other interesting spots, but it's definitely very nascent and early kind of space. So, I mean, those are the places you want to be, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to find out whether this is going to be like a lot of like a pretty clear path to just, there's enough apps to either, integrate or bring over just to be comparable to, the ecosystems and other chains. But if there's specifically unique things that get to be built on top of this, and I mean, my sense is that it's, we very much need more competition at the issuance listing level. And if Hyperliquid can come out and do that, then that's enough, because that's going to be huge. But still trying to wrap my head around like the second order effects here, and especially for builders who might be hearing about Hyperliquid L1 as sort of like a potential chain to integrate or build on or leverage in some way for the first time. So very interesting.
I think if you're interested in the financial side of crypto, obviously in the last year, 2 years, we've seen, consumer kind of be the focus with like, I would group memes into that, right? Consumer apps, Moonshot, these kinds of things. But there is a ton of builders and researchers in crypto who are purely in it for like the financial side and financial engineering and working with derivatives and
for sure
building protocols and like all this kind of stuff, right? So like, I think the open field to build
I agree.
in that space is for sure going to be.
Well, I mean, I remember before we had AMMs and the impact that just like a simple automated market maker could have was transformative. I mean, all the things we're talking about today are in part because of that in some way. But there is still a whole lot of important pieces to build to really build that functionality out. And especially if all we're looking at today is like, meme coins and token launches, we're missing out on the future where every asset is tokenized in some way. And there's just a ton of other market dynamics to build up there. So super interesting. You got anything else, Josh? Or we have to get through? Are we hanging out with Kel for the rest of the hour? Are we talking through more topics? What are we doing here?
I mean, we can set them free. Kel, you have anything else you want to say? Anything you want to direct people's attention to? I don't know, things you're intrigued by, you think people should look at?
I think I've covered the places where I'm looking. I think on-chain AI is, I don't know if my picks are the correct ones, but there will be correct picks there. So if anyone is listening to this and is actually serious, I'd say spend a lot of time there, because you can really make incredible changes to, obviously yourself, your family, your people, if you like actually fucking lock in, right? Like, like the day-to-day, minute-to-minute chart, like, we fuck around and, gamble away 5 SOL or whatever. And it is what it is. But I think the people who don't miss the forest for the trees over the next 6 months they're gonna be laughing to the bank. So make sure you're one of those people.
When does that report out?
The AI coins?
Yeah,
that's a good question. I'm gonna try to finish it maybe this weekend.
Nice.
I'm visiting New York right now for like 2 weeks, so I've just been jam packing like every single meeting and everything. So I haven't had as much time as I wanted to write, and then naturally like the coins just start fucking ripping before I can publish. So it's like class. That's why I started posting snippets to the timeline. I was just like, bro, I'm just gonna post a snippet because.
Well, Josh and I were talking. I mean, I've been on the 1 second charts on a few things just for fun, for research.
For research purposes, as is tradition.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, obviously be early games are the tradition here in crypto. And so you get to, like, there's literally no better be early games than these ones that are being played right now in the short term. So yeah, I think I had a point and I lost the point because I looked at 1 second charts. Yeah. So I think I lost my point again. We're going to move on. I'm literally looking at a 1 second chart right now. No. Okay. I know what it was.
Muddles your brain.
I looked at the 1 second chart and got mad distracted. But Josh mentioned Cerebral a lot yesterday to me. And I was like, okay. And I just bought some. He's like, I think it's good. Maybe wait for the dip, but who knows? It's just going to rip. So I bought some without even knowing what's up there. And I feel like we're in that phase again. I don't know how long it lasts or whatever, but people are willing to market buy stupid shit that they don't really know because they feel like it's just going to go up for the next little while. So that's bullish for now.
You dance while the music loud.
I like it. Yeah. All right, Kel. Well, great chatting, man. And thanks for the catch up. And make sure you send us that paper so we can get it. We'd love to share it with our curated chat. But clearly, if you're not following Kel on Twitter, the best takes, the insights are coming on his Twitter. So make sure you go give him a follow there. Thanks for hanging out with us, man.
Yeah, no doubt. Appreciate you guys.
Peace, dude.
All right, brother. Peace. I'm really glad that I'm buying it and not thinking about the dip because Cerebro's out nice today.
You kind of have to. It also, I mean, I'm telling you that I've been doing this and kind of treating like little swaps as bookmarks.
Yeah.
And I feel it's actually a really effective strategy because, you see something interesting, you put a soul to it, then you see it in your wallet and you're reminded that you need to go look at this thing or whatever, it doubles. You're like, oh shit, I really got to look at this thing versus just ignoring and then re-seeing something 2 weeks later and you've kind of missed the boat on it. So
yeah,
I'm kind of all in on that strategy. So my wallet's a bit of a nightmare, but looks like my browser tab bar.
I'm taking the opposite approach where I'm trying, I have 5 tabs open with charts right now. Those are the only tokens I'm playing in the sort of short-term game. So
I mean, it's the right way to play it. Because you can either you can be in the trenches all day and learn nothing, maybe make some money, maybe not, or you can just kind of form, conviction bets around stuff, hold for a long time, and then go and actually focus on building things with long-term value.
Yeah, I mean, I really look at this as truly entertainment in the same way that NFTs were kind of entertainment, but I do think that there is going to be a deep desire for more than just the churn. I mean, meme coins and NFTs have so much in common, obviously a lot different, but the common they share is that there is a lack of a sustainable model to push these things forward with a degree of confidence. So, all right,
cool. Let's jump to what are we looking for? So this was another post by Z Prime guys, which I always like, but really they just outlined what they look for in investment and kind of their core focus that they outlined is really just finding founders that are building from a deeper purpose and genuine curiosity with the problem space and kind of really pushing back all of this kind of copycat hot narrative building that happens right now. So I think recommend reading the post, but also just thought it was kind of a good opportunity for us to talk a little bit about what we look for in investments, because I think it very, very aligned with that, but I think we go kind of a level deeper. So maybe I'll go to you to start.
Well, I also think there's sort of it implied in sort of, we use the accelerator language, even though I'm not sure that's the best way to frame what we exactly do. But embedded in that is sort of this idea that you're trying to index a market. And I think I've even used that language in the past, and it's just very much not what we're doing. And indexing the market would mean go raise fairly large funds, do consistent deals that give you hopefully meaningful ownership at the early stage. Know that the vast majority are going to go to zero, but you've spread your bets out wide enough. And I think that the fundamental flaw with that is that the scarce resource here is actually crypto builders. There's the builders, right? And people who are and what happens in these spaces is you just get very competent, in many cases, very credentialed people that see things happening and are early movers on it, but don't have the background and insight and understanding the crypto markets and kind of there's a very big difference between building something people want and building something people want to be a part of. And that nuance there is important. So I think that's the scarce resource, and new mechanisms, new ideas, I think, are the scarce resource. And so an index bet play there can really pick up a lot of shit, quite frankly, and instead, I think looking for more ideological builders that have a clear, big vision and the business sense to go after it, and also have this ability to be public and sort of be a leader of this hopeful cult-like brand that, gets represented in a token. That's a very hard thing to find, and in most cases, people, especially at the early stages, are in the process of finding those skills and abilities, etc. And so I think being able to like, I very much see our job as people picking. Obviously the other stuff is kind of is key, but we've seen exceptional founders start in one direction, and if you look at the data across many portfolios, some of the biggest outcomes are pivots and changes, etc. And what we've seen through at least the last cycle is a lot of the tourists that were coming in and building, which I expect we'll see a lot more soon again, were the ones who sort of failed to evolve and ultimately shut down very quickly. And we've seen that a long time, right? And I also think we see these, I think to your point, the length of time it takes for these things to come out, and the challenge of choosing things early, and the fact that most VCs are not actually in the trenches or near the trenches and are sort of seeing things second or third hand, even though they're really still closer than most people, just lead a lot of stupid shit. Like every DAO platform that launched, when people were like, well, why isn't C Club launching a DAO platform? Because we don't know how to go do it well. And this might be fundamentally broken. And so what do we see? A dozen DAO platforms launch, and kind of where are they now, right? So I think you need to look for, we're definitely not indexing, and you definitely need to look for deeper sources of truth.
100%. Yeah, I think the incentive, the like short-term incentives and money-making opportunities, I think truly means that your average founder building in crypto is, they're way less, they have less insights, they're way less long-term minded, they're not building because they're obsessed with some problem space and want to go spend their next 10 years building on it. They're really just like, oh, this thing's hot, whatever, Pump.on is making $100 million a year, would I go do that on another chain? Like, what's going to happen? Maybe I can make a ton of money and stop working in a year, right? And I think we just, that's just pervasive in this industry. So I think that kind of us not trying to index is, I think, a really important point. And also just, and I pulled up a tweet I wrote a while ago here, just how, like, building in consumer specifically too is just like so hard. Consumer preferences are finicky, like you have to figure out how to bootstrap network effects and create like good initial conditions. Cost of acquisition is high, so you need to figure out how to package something in a way that's like viable and shareable and people really like, and that just takes a really long time. So if you're not doing this for long-term minded reasons and because you want to go do your life's work on this thing, you're just going to give up. And I think we see so much of that every cycle, especially in bull markets, that I think we spend a lot of time just stepping back and trying to understand why people are building. They actually have some like really unique insight into the inflection crypto unlocks. Are they living in some weird future that nobody else sees, but they have deep conviction in? Kind of all these things that suggest in 5 years, even if they haven't seen any traction, they're still going to be running at this problem, because those are the things we want to work on as well.
It's so fun, man. It's really hard. It's and I think, I have great admiration for the VCs who've been doing this for decades, and also who keep a very high ethical standard for it. I am so grateful that I count many of them as backers of C Club, because it is very hard to do what C Prime is articulating and what we're trying to go do, I think, and other early stage investors. And there is a ton of incentive to do shit that favors VCs rather than founders. And I think it is the reason it has such a shitty, approval rating or a brand, the idea of VCs, is because there's a good chunk of very shitty ones out there that unfortunately many of you probably had to meet already. So this is a tangent I didn't want to get down. So we'll get the hell out of this tangent. See, I told you got to keep me on the rails, Josh. We have a minute left in the show, and I'm going to start beaking off on shit that I shouldn't be beaking off on.
Just jumped on the call to, or the start of this today. He was like, I am riled up this morning. Do not. We got a little taste. Well,
you didn't even try to get me going, and this somehow got me into it. I was like, oh shit.
I love it. I mean, we're at time. Maybe like really quickly, let's just talk about this Polymarket Whale, because I think this story is interesting.
Interesting.
So I think we all, everyone knows, if you're following the elections or hanging out on crypto Twitter, that a whale put, I think it was like $18 million bet on Trump. And after it hit, just some more information's come out on kind of where his conviction came from. And he leaned on this thing called like the neighbor method, which is kind of the idea that if you ask people who they think their neighbor's going to vote for, they'll actually reveal their true preferences more accurately than if you ask them who they're voting for, and they don't want to actually tell people that. And so he actually went and commissioned pollsters in the US to run these neighbor surveys, and it came back overwhelmingly supportive of Trump, which kind of gave him the conviction to place this big bet. And I think this is just such a cool example of the power of these like permissionless markets to like reveal truth, or at least reveal, you know, high quality signals. Because like, you know, the mainstream media they have no incentive to go do this, right? They're politically aligned.
I mean,
the journalists are lazy. They just want to whatever tell their stories and go home. But this guy had, you know, $18 million of skin in the game. Like he wanted to go figure out the fucking right answer here, and found a pretty cool to go do it. So
I mean, what the balls on that guy? Like,
I know.
that's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely interesting. I mean, I think that the broader story of Polymarket is interesting. I think the tweet they sent out the other day, like, don't trust the mainstream media, etc., it was brilliant marketing. Yeah. I don't know. I think there's still, like, predicting the futures is always going to be very imperfect, and I think we should look at Polymarket through the same lens, but clearly having more high fidelity or conviction based information sources outside of purely the mainstream media is incredibly valuable. And I think it's just going to maintain an interesting battleground for the next little while. But I think feels like we're in I don't know, we'll see what the impact of the last week will have on the shape of elections. I think a lot of people are going, well, what is real? Like, how did I miss this? Or how is this so obvious to me? And a lot of people are sort of realizing we're in filter bubbles that are probably not super helpful to us. So, yeah. And maybe Polymarket's solution to that. I made $500, baby. Let's go. I took the under on election turnout. Papa's up.
Great call.
Let's go. I'm 2 for 2 on Trump elections in winning money on Polymarket. They're also the only 2 times I've bet on Polymarket. Well, that's not true. I have a couple other bets now, but Trump equals me making small amounts of money. Thank you, sir.
And maybe more over the next.
Well, more. I mean, he's had a better impact on my bags than anything else.
It feels good though. It feels getting a bet right feels better than.
Well, that's what I was saying to you. It feels actually like I was more excited about that than my Bitcoin buy. That's up by a heck of a lot more than that after the election. So
yeah, exactly.
Give me one lightning round.
Let me see. Sorry to find it. Close my doc. What do I got here?
Let's talk dream coins.
We can talk dream coins.
Oh, this will get you. Yeah.
This is a good one too. I think you just sent this for.
As markets transition from PvP to PvE regimes in a deeply reflexive asset class like crypto, the stories told will be different. Multiples, earnings, revenues, even TVL, FDVs are the gospel of closed systems. TAM, vision, market cap, storytelling are the Schelling points of open systems. I think this is really great advice, especially for founders that have been like in the literal trenches trying to get rounds done in maybe markets that are seen as a bit more niche in the last months or years. That the market has changed, right? Like, when's a good time to raise a crypto fund? It's when Bitcoin is breaking out, right? Like, there's a ton of attention and momentum behind it, and it shifts everything. And so I think if you're still stuck in this like PvP mindset, you're probably going to leave a bunch of opportunity and money on the table. And I expect we'll start to see some of these more bigger, grander visions have a lot more appeal in the market. People are searching for belief, whether that's VCs or retail, and it's a different market. Should this sustain than what we've been in for the last little while? So I think it's a good point. Cool. Yeah. I mean, the only reason to mention dream coins is because I have a bag, and I don't think that's a good reason to get into it. But I do think we didn't talk about WoW here either, which launched this week. So we should probably give it a bit of a mention.
Yeah,
WoW.xyz.
Yeah, you should check out. So WoW.xyz is finally a non-low effort kind of meme coin launchpad on Base, built by someone that knows how to build. This launched yesterday. Has, you know, a bit of mention. I think they really need to figure out how to get more degenerate liquidity and better memes created. But, you know, I think we're gonna know once and for all whether, you know, the culture on Base can actually sustain a meme coin launchpad, or if
that's the most interesting conversation. Like, the tweets coming out being like, bros are too short-minded and aren't no conviction enough to actually pump tokens above $3 million, which
it's hard to disagree with.
True.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with, but I think we're gonna have a good answer to that question for the first time. So I think, you know, worth watching. Dream Coins is a product that was built on top of it, where you can basically just prompt a model and it creates an image and description and ticker on WoW from that prompt. I think they're the creator. 5% of all, or 0.5% of trading fees on WoW goes to the creator, which I think is
on the bonding curve, though, right?
On the bonding curve, which I think is like a pretty meaningful addition to the platform. And then Dream Coins basically takes that and burns the Dream token. So kind of a cool thing built on top of WoW.
Awesome. All right, y'all. We're back here next Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Who knows what the world will look like next week? But no matter the changes, hopefully we'll be the ones to go a little bit deeper with you. Or maybe we break the change here. That's our goal. Sensational newsletter this week. Curated continues to be a source of alpha. I've seen some people be very happy about some of the links that have been shared in there recently. So if you're not in there, shoot myself or Josh a DM, and we'll love to get you in. It's a big week for Seed Cloud. I feel like it's a big week. It's a big. Barry was right. Barry was right. Week equals big.
Right. Yeah.
All right, y'all. Well, I hope you all have a wonderful week and weekend. Hope this week has been mostly positive for you at the very least. And it's going to be a wild couple of months, y'all. So excited to be a part of it with y'all. And we'll see you on chain.